What a lad. Well, these episodes with recent retired players have been going down an absolute treat with you guys, so I've ramped it up a little bit more with this time a double Rugby World Cup winner. He's a lad who's played for plenty of teams, including Canterbury, the Crusaders, the Highlanders, and of course the All Blacks before heading over to France, where he racked up 84 games with Po. He then finished off in Japan with Mitsubishi Dynaboars, and he's also someone who's went through more injury setbacks than probably any other player I know. And of course, he is an absolute lad as well. So I'm stoked to have him. What a lad. It is the great man himself, Colin Slade. Welcome, mate.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to make the cut.
Mate, great to get you in this temporary studio that we have here. Feels pretty professional, and, mate, you're looking good. Arms are big, strong.
Got the T-shirt on, tight, cold wash. But, no, look, yeah, again, it's... Yeah, thanks for getting me in here. It's I've certainly seen your show, so it's going well.
Mate, you're looking in good nick. I mean, I see the recent post that you've retired. Caught me a little bit by surprise. I feel like you're still good to go. Potentially one more super season in you.
No. To be honest, mate, like it's all the injuries and stuff like that. It was just time to finish up. I'd probably finished. Only sort of announced my retirement, this week, but I'd retired maybe 6 months ago. It was just a case of, I want to be 100% sure. So, I took a little bit of time before I sort of did it. And to be honest, I'm not that active on the social media these days. So it was just a case of getting around to it. But no, I'm done. But yeah, I'm still trying to keep fit and trying to keep some good habits. And I'm not going to say never, but no, I'm done.
Yeah, you said you're 100% sure. You're not going to say anything till you're 100% sure, but I feel a little bit of hesitancy there. I feel like, let's say a couple of Crusader 10s go down early in the season. Is your phone number available?
Well, I'd have to contact my new boss. So it's I've just started working with Forsyth Barra. So. Oh, yeah. Look, it's a new exciting adventure for me, something completely different. Sitting in an office, a little bit warmer than training in the winter time every year for the last sort of 15 years. But I've sort of immersed myself into something else. I've got to commit to it, and I'm done, mate.
How did you get into that? Like, that seems like a really quick transition. You said that you've obviously made the decision a little bit earlier than we've seen it, but pretty quick transition into something completely different. So
yeah, like I said, it might seem like it because I've only announced it, last week. But in my head, I'd been finished for probably 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
I just left that door open purely because I didn't know if I wanted to commit to a new job yet, and something might have popped up. And I've sort of been toying whether I wanted to get into coaching at some point too. So, but I parked that and moved on. For now, I'm going to focus on this new gig and see where it takes me, and who knows what will happen in the future, I guess, but I'll do that for now.
And what does it involve? What does working for Forsyth Bar? All I know sort of is they obviously sponsor the stadium down south, but what do they actually do? Yeah, so
Forsyth Bar is an investment company that look after people's funds and manage people's portfolios, I guess, and as an investment advisor, so that's what I'll be when I when I get the training wheels off. I'm in there at the moment just sort of flicking through emails and going through compliance stuff, but it's early days, and yeah, like I said, it's something completely different, but I've always had an interest in the financial markets and things like that. I've always tried to keep active, so I thought, why not give it a crack and see how it goes. At the end of the day, you need a job, and I put it off for 15 years to get a real job, but the time's right to try something else.
And did you have to do any study, or what did that sort of look like throughout your career to land in a role like this straight away?
Yeah, so you have to study. There's various certificates and qualifications you need for that to be able to provide financial advice. And being in Japan over the last couple of years, there was a bit of spare time there off the field to tick that off. So I thought, I'll do that just in case I wanted to pursue this career. And I thought, why not? The reason I've got this opportunity, I guess, I had a financial advisor throughout my career to help me manage my money, and he kind of went up the food chain a wee bit and started digging into my elbow, using his elbows, I guess, to ask me if I was ready to come on board, and that's how it worked out.
Mate, do you miss rugby? I know it hasn't been too long, but have you missed it? Do you think you'll miss it?
If you'd asked me a year ago, I would have said I don't think I'd miss it. And then you do finish, and you get quite nostalgic towards the end, and you realise how good the environment is, and I don't miss the injuries and some of the cold trainings and stuff like that. But it was a pretty relaxed environment. good bunch of lads pretty much across the board wherever I played. So yeah, you do something for 15 years, mate. You're like, you know that the lifestyle, I guess, and you become very accustomed to it. So I'll miss that for sure. But yeah, never say never. You know, like I said, it might be something I want to get back into later. Because like I said, rugby's great to be involved with. So I might try it again later.
And you did mention the injuries, and mate, you did have more injuries than most. Like, you obviously had some extreme highs in your career, but so many lows with back-to-back injuries and a huge injury toll. Mate, how hard was that throughout your career to deal with all these injury setbacks?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, definitely character-building stuff. Double-figure surgeries in the end, and it ended up being the concussions that probably got on top of me a wee bit over the last few years. I sort of ended up probably close to double figures as well.
True.
I had quite a few in France. So, and luckily didn't have the symptoms of some people get. So, touch wood, see how I go. But I think with injuries, you sort of learn how to cope and how to manage and all that sort of stuff. And it certainly knocked me first earlier in my career where, you get an injury, you miss an opportunity, you don't get that opportunity to grow and develop, and it can sort of beat you up a wee bit. I suppose as you get a little bit older, you use that time to actually get better in certain areas. Obviously, no, you want to be playing, but, you sort of, like I said, you work away and you sort of manage it mentally a lot better, I guess, and it is frustrating, but, there's worse jobs out there you could be doing than rehabbing back and you're still getting paid to rehab and get right. So it's, it is what it is.
Yeah. Was there ever an injury that you had where you thought about, pulling pin on the game that was really tough for you to sort of get back?
Honestly, no, not really. Apart from the head knocks, there's been a couple of times over the last few years where I thought, one more head knock and I'm done, and then, Murphy's Law brings up and he gives you another one and you go, one more. So that probably happened 3 or 4 times. So it's, but in terms of, the broken bones and things like that, not really.
No.
I was too young
to
really put that to bed, and I wouldn't have had the closure.
Yeah.
If I'd given it up and walked away. And it wasn't in my character either, to be honest, mate. Like, it's sort of roll the sleeves up, sort it out, come back, gives you a bit of motivation to do that.
And those injuries with the timeline, like the breaks and stuff there, I guess you got your time frame to process it, and when you're coming out. Where the head knock is a bit different, Like, you don't actually know when you're going to come right, and it's a bit more hard mentally to deal with.
Yeah, and the fear of the unknown, right? Like what you're going to be like in the future. And like I said, for some reason, I just kept getting these head knocks, and I would wake up okay. And some of them, I got put in hospital once, don't remember a thing, and then woke up fine the next day. And it's not to say like I'm toughening up or anything like that. It was just saying I've got mates who have had one and had to retire. Like it's quite a puzzling sort of injury. And I got lucky in terms of the side effects after, but we're all unsure about the long-term effects. For now, I'll battle away, and no problem at the moment.
Yeah. Do you have any concerns? Like, how do you feel like mentally? You feel like your memory and stuff's good? We'll obviously test that pretty soon as we go through your career, but how do you feel about like your mental space?
Well, I think as you get older too, your memory gets a bit cloudy anyway, doesn't it? Whether that's the age or the kids that give you the broken sleep, or I always said as I was learning new languages, I was forgetting English. There's always concerns, but I mean, a lot of the concerns that are in the public are generated from the media, and we've got to remember the media's entertainment focus, click focus, and all that sort of stuff, and it's not to discredit anything, but I listened to neurologists and things like that, and I went on my own wee tour de France at the time, and went around about 3 or 4 neurologists just to to cross-check to make sure everyone was delivering the same message, and they were all pretty consistent, without cueing them on anything in terms of that. I mean, a lot of them were sort of saying a lot of the stuff out of America is a little bit hyped and a little bit not hype, but they're a different kettle of fish, those NFL players. I mean, they're taught to tackle with the head. They've got obviously, don't quote me, but there's a fair amount of drug usage and things like that, and there's obviously a pretty gun-happy culture. They're a different sort of culture than us. In saying that, I listen to the neurologist. There's no real evidence. There's always going to be a section of society that do have problems cognitively, and the rugby players should be no different. We're going to have a section of rugby players who are going to have issues, whether it's related to head knocks or not, or just being part of society who have that genetic component. Does that make sense?
Yeah, mate, you're giving me hope. You're giving me hope that my brain's sweet.
I'm trying to give myself good confidence and good self-belief, you know, like it's, I think it is a worrying thing, right? Especially when you get kids and things like that.
Mate,
you don't want to be, for all intents and purposes, a bit more vegetable or not be able to remember things or, I mean, that is a concern.
But you're not there yet. You're ready to go. You've got your memory.
Well, that's right. I've got to use my brain in the real world now, so I need it for a little bit longer.
Well, let's use it now and go back to sort of the start of your journey. Obviously, you're a true Cantabrian, born and bred at Christchurch. What was your upbringing like here?
Yeah, I mean, like any Kiwi kid, I guess, you grew up wanting to be an All Black or a black cap for me. Like a lot of my, earlier time was more cricket focused.
Oh, was it?
But I love my cricket. Played for Mirabelle Lincoln or Merlins at various times. Mirabelle Pap back in my day, geez, that's showing me my age. But grew up, went to Breens, or Heald Primary, Breens, then Christchurch Boys High School, and that's where I guess, like anyone, the sport influence and the competitive aspect of it starts to ramp up a wee bit.
When did rugby take over from cricket?
So I was 7th form, I think it was, where I was playing both, and then got the opportunity to trial for the New Zealand 19s. There was a Canterbury under-19 cricket tournament on at the same time, but I sort of figured that, once for New Zealand, so I'll give that one a crack. And went all right, made the team, and that was sort of, I wouldn't say it was forced on me, but it sort of made my decision for me, I guess. And then from that, the academy, and then it sort of just it rolled on from that. But
Mate, that's way later than I expected. I thought it might have been, sort of third form, because back end of your Christchurch Boys high time, you're an absolute gun. There was huge raps on you as a player. Obviously played against you in the final at Jade Stadium. You guys had a stacked team: Tim Bateman's and Owen Franks, Ash Dixon's, Horror.
Matt
the
Todd,
list goes on. Matt Todd, mate.
We had an awesome team. I'm not trying to toot my own trumpet, but the team performed really well, and we had a great set of guys. We didn't lose a game for 2 years. So that I sort of think that being in a good environment early sort of gives you that enjoyment factor.
But you also a class above like a lot of the players in the competition at the time. You were kicking off both feet like easily, and you had all the skills. So. You made it look like you were a full on rugby professional playing against amateurs at the time.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But I mean, yourself as a 10er, you're in a good team and everything's a bit easier.
Yeah.
So, you benefit from that. You get the confidence, and like I mentioned, the enjoyment factor of being in a dominating team. And then that becomes sort of a new standard behaviour, and that's sort of the way it went right through. Went to Old Boys, same thing sort of happened. We had an outrageously good team there with your mate Mike Coleman there. He was a bad man.
You lived with him, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had the pleasure or the misfortune, depending how you look on it. The guy doesn't like to shower very much.
Does he not?
No. He used to come home from training, go straight to bed.
Did he? Oh, mate, he kept that quiet.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. But no, he was a pleasure. And lived with Owen Franks at the same time. So we all lived together and had other couple of guys that sort of popped in, schoolmates that popped in and out. But that was an interesting period.
And then from there, you said you obviously went through the New Zealand age grades, New Zealand 19s, New Zealand 21s. What was that like?
Yep. I mean, that was really good. Again, it was sort of like what seemed as a faraway goal. It started to get a little bit closer, right? You make these teams and it makes you feel like you're not far off. So, again, it sort of incentivises you to give it a bit more. And, that was great playing with, I guess, guys that, even some guys I'd watched on TV that tend to make the NPC, or I can't remember what it was called then, but for the smaller unions, and he's sort of like, oh, holy heck, I'm starting to play with some serious weapons here. But it was part of the journey, I guess, and getting a bit more exposure to some good coaches and stuff really helped.
Were you confident in your own ability? Did you believe that you were going to go on and become an All Black? Did you have this self-belief?
I think I suffered a little bit early on. I was quite a shy sort of guy, so especially when I got into those environments, I was quite internal, and probably didn't believe. But And I actually messaged Rob Penny last night, who messaged me after I sort of just announced my retirement. I said, like, you're one of the guys who brought that out of me.
Yeah.
He was so positive, and with John Haggart as well, that I had in my first couple of years with Canterbury. Just really good at sort of giving me enough of a rope to be able to drive a team. And obviously, young guy, you're not going to get the full license, but they gave me the confidence, I guess, to sort of grow as a person. I think the ability was there, or the root, what do you call it, the sprouts of the bloody whatever, they were there. The ability was there, but it's not until you get that sort of that confidence and that personality and the mental stuff sorted that you start to actually grow as a team, I think.
And that you're going into a pretty stacked Canterbury side at the time. What was it like? That was obviously pretty, like you say, pretty intimidating to be bossing around. It would have been All Blacks and plenty of Super Rugby players at the time for a young 10 to just jump in there. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, first day at training, I think I turned up and there was, Kieran Reid. He wasn't the All Black captain then. He was still playing ITM Cup, but I sort of, years before, I'd sort of watched all those guys. Andy Ellis was passing me the ball, and I knew Andy from younger, actually. He was another Hewitt primary. He was Cully. A few more years older.
Surely more.
Yeah, he looks a lot older though, doesn't he? And all of a sudden you're sort of training with them, and again that makes it easier, right? As a young 10 coming in, and I've got the ability to sort of sit back and just worry about myself, and they take control of that leadership stuff. Certainly helped.
And then you went pretty quickly. You went through the Crusaders the following year, obviously playing behind DC and Stephen Brett, I think too, was it?
Well, DC wasn't there. That was that year he went to France. So
true.
Yeah, I sort of got first crack at it there, and we sort of struggled a wee bit, and then I ended up getting shifted to the wing.
Oh, that's right.
Which again was part of my journey, right? Like those sort of things that I wouldn't say it was challenging, but it was certainly challenging from a bit like in terms of handling being moved to the wing, but it was certainly beneficial in the long term. It was a tough pill to swallow at the time, not playing 10, but geez, I was 20, 21 or whatever. And just sort of rolled up my sleeves and sort of gave it a crack on the wing, and ended up playing about 9 or 10 games straight there.
Had you played wing before?
I think maybe a game or two for it when I was in the first 15.
Yeah.
Just because I was that skinny white guy that could kick, but they needed a kicker, so it was just like chuck him on there, and he can kick the goals, but just don't do anything else. So, but apart from that, no, certainly not. Played a bit of fullback.
Yeah.
These days it's not too similar, I guess.
And what were you goal kicking when you're on the wing? Like,
shucks, I can't even remember.
Yeah. Here's the concussion.
Yeah. That was nearly 14 years ago, that one. So maybe excused. Yeah. But no, I can't remember. Maybe bits and bobs. I must have. I think me and Chopper, Stevie Brett must have shared them a wee bit.
And how was it like in that environment? Like we've sort of spoken about the Canterbury, but the step up to the Crusaders.
I probably found that a little bit harder because Richie, the All Blacks are back, right? So Richie and the Brad Thorns, and they're a lot more authoritative, and it was probably, I sort of noticed, I guess, the tail end of that sort of older culture where it sort of transitioned a wee bit throughout my career, and the coaches sort of drove this whole, as time went on, I guess, making young guys feel comfortable in the environment. And it wasn't they maybe uncomfortable, it was just, like I said, I was quite a shy, internal sort of guy.
Had to earn their respect, right?
Yeah, you have to. And it probably it took me a while, to be fair, but yeah, I was still pretty starstruck by those guys for quite a while. I remember one time I went out to dinner with them, and you sort of break off into your little guys, but I missed the young guys' bus, and I got stuck and I looked around, and it was just like me, Richie, Dorney, Crocky, Rito, and like we went out for dinner, and I remember sitting there and I didn't say a thing, and I just remember being so shy and being like, what do I say? Can I say something? When do I pipe up? And and that sort of summed it up. Like, it was just I wasn't that comfortable at that stage, but I was comfortable on the field in terms of playing, getting comfortable, but handling those guys was a little bit took a year or two. To earn their trust, I guess.
Yeah, so calling the shots and stuff, there was no issue there. No one was trying to override you. It didn't feel like they didn't trust you on the field. It was just off the field. It was awkward.
They whatever their status, I guess, they still need direction from their 10, so that's their job, and that was still my expectation of myself. So, and that's what the coaches put on me. But like I said, it was more handling the leadership side and off the field, the social stuff as well. Just being like. Hi Richie, to fear that never really changed, like it was sort of the whole way through. It was kind of like, hey, what's up, man? Don't hate me. I mean, as you get on and get a little bit shoulder and go through the things with them, they start to loosen up. But I mean, still, I mean, it's the legends of the game. It's still, still happens these days. I go to bump into them. I did actually not too long ago at the kids' trampoline park. He's taking through one there.
Oh,
It's like, hi Richie, remember me? He might have some concussions too, maybe.
Did he not remember you?
Wow, he looked like he did.
Did you come out to dinner with us at one time?
Yeah, I still remember that time actually. You didn't speak. I didn't know if you were a water boy or a bloody assistant physio.
Oh, that's good stuff. And then obviously the All Blacks, like I think it was the following year, right? Like it all happened quick for you. You went bang, 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 and did you feel like you were ready for the All Blacks, or how did you get named as an All Black?
To answer that question, the answer would be no. I didn't feel really, only because of the way it sort of happened. I sort of got rung up by Darren Chand at the time, and I came in first as an injury replacement. So he sort of said, "Oh mate, we need someone to come along." It was a day camp in Christchurch, so we just need some extra bodies. So can you come down? And I sort of went down there and just did the day. And he goes, "Oh, actually, we, such and such isn't going to be ready by next week. Could you come up?" And I thought, all right. And I didn't think too much.
You never actually got named.
Well, then the next day it sort of was in the paper that I've been called up to the All Blacks, and I was like, how do I confirm this? Like, is that what? Am I in the squad? Like, and then you go up there, and I didn't have any expectation of playing, and I probably got through the first week as you do, and then the second week I sort of looked around, and it was like no spare backs.
Oh yeah.
And it turns out like I was that close to playing. I think it was Corey Jane or something like that was injured, and they were obviously going to put someone to start to replace him, and he ended up playing. But it wasn't until the Friday it was like, you might be in the team, so just be ready. And I thought I was just tackle bags for here, but and I didn't play that first year, so missed out on the India tour. Came back the next year, got called in as a replacement again. This was 2010 or whatever, and then I did play and made my debut that year later. So.
And what was it like? What was it like making your debut?
It's pretty surreal, particularly coming off the bench. And like I got called in as an injury replacement again, so I sort of flew in there and got named straight on the bench this time. They told me, you're in the team this time, so I sort of could prepare. I suppose sitting there watching, you sort of felt more of a spectator.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden your numbers up, and it's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty crazy feeling. Like you sort of ample energy and just so much enthusiasm and excitement. The adrenaline's probably the best way to describe it. It's just incredible. But it goes pretty quick, and thankfully we won that game. Pretty good vibe after the game, and
makes a difference. And obviously the haka as well. Like going from the haka to the bench, what's that like? Obviously you're a big haka man. You always had a good pukana, etc. So what was the nerves like pre-haka?
Well, I think because I'm clearly not an physically intimidating bloke, I sort of gave it everything in the haka, and sort of a couple of times you'll sort of be a bit bloody blackout at the end, but
it's where most of your concussions have come from.
Well, thankfully I'd go back to the bench after and
regroup.
So I don't know what would have happened if I had to start, but again, I mean, you're still, for the most part, you're still a fan going into that environment, right? Like it's such a aura around it, and you sort of, but like, holy heck, I can't believe I'm here for a while. Actually, it's not like it's just done after the first game. I think it's it's still pretty surreal, I guess, to call yourself an All Black and all that sort of stuff when you're young. And geez, it feels a lifetime ago now. It's being on the outside now, you sort of, you know what it's like being on the inside, and you get it, but it just seems so, it seems like an absolute eternity ago now.
And I guess when you're like sort of on the fringes all the time, like I guess you ended up playing a fair few tests, but you never really cemented yourself as that sort of first choice 10, so you're always sort of feeling like you're not quite, I don't know, involved or running, you've got the license to run the ship.
100%, especially as a 10, you kind of need that. So, I find myself quite often sort of being that third 10. So I wouldn't even get stripped. I was on the stand. I think I had more games in the stand.
True.
Than on the bench even, or on the field. So, but I mean, it was still awesome. To be front row seats, especially come World Cup time and stuff like that. To be able to sort of be on the inside of a pretty tight circle come those times. And be able to contribute and help those other guys. And I sort of, I took my own sort of way of it. Like, heck, I'm in the best environment in the world to be the best athlete I can be. So just train, and don't look at it as a missed week. Just train and set PBs and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And if your number gets called, your number gets called. But there were times when it did, but obviously I missed out a bit. But and that's the reason why at the end of the day I ended up going overseas. Nothing ever is given to you, and you never expect in the All Blacks. But by the same token, I'd sort of been in and out, like you said, for quite a while. So it was time to go overseas, and that worked out well too.
And talk to us about the lead up to obviously 2011 Rugby World Cup, huge moment here in New Zealand. Were you confident you were going to make that squad initially?
Yeah, it was a weird year. So I broke my jaw that year.
That's right. Islanders. You just moved to
pre-season. Yeah. So I didn't play any games, and then all of a sudden came back after 6 or 7 weeks, and then had 3 games and managed to play really well. But broke my jaw again, and then all of a sudden I was just like, oh, bugger. And I wasn't really thinking World Cup, but then all of a sudden you started getting phone calls from All Black physios and just keeping an eye on you, and then end up having to do a few mental skill stuffs, and then sort of as you sort of start to connect the dots a wee bit that the 3 games that you did play, you played well, and we like the cut of your jib. So that was I started going to some leadership stuff during the season, and it was just like,
you're in.
Yeah. So and to answer your question, was I confident going into it? No, because I didn't play any rugby that year. I played 3 games in March, April, whatever it was. And then you go straight into, we had a test in Fiji. That was my first game. I think I played a club game or something before that. But and then we played straight into shortened Tri-Nations into World Cup. So in none of those games I played more than 40 minutes. So that's what I was going into the World Cup. And actually, because I sort of rushed back so quickly, I ended up pulling my groin about 2 weeks before that Tri-Nations. And I couldn't kick.
Oh, true.
So I ended up having this adult. Ended up getting quite bad osteitis pubis. For the viewers out there, it's basically you get too much tension on your groin one side and it pulls down the other, and you sort of get a bit of a pelvic bone sort of imbalance. But yeah, days off, couldn't walk, couldn't get out of bed, that sort of stuff all the way through the World Cup. So that was really hard to be able to handle that as a young guy on the big stage. And then all of a sudden, DC was the one that goes down with the crook groin. I'm going, hang on. I'm the one with the crook groin who's, pretty much getting physio twice a day and on anti-inflammatories for about 9 weeks straight to survive. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, my number was called. And I was just like, oh, good Lord. What, out of all the time, you want your bits to be functioning and training as best as you can. You can't. So, I was undercooked, but, geez, what an experience. So, obviously it didn't end well for me getting injured the game after, but
you sort of knew. Did you feel like that was going to happen? Obviously, with you, I mean, was no surprise to you.
Nah, it was a matter of when, not if. And because I wasn't playing at DC, most games we only had 2 10s back then. DC would play a 60 and 70 or whatever it was, and if we had the game wrapped up, I'd come on for 15 or whatever it is. So I wasn't having high volume, so I was getting by, but. As soon as I sort of had to go more than, I played 60 against Canada or 70 against Canada, and I didn't pull, I couldn't kick all week. It is what it is, but it was awesome to get that monkey off our back as a team, I guess, and ride that wave of the country. It was pretty special.
And how much pressure did you feel come instantly on you when DC went down?
It was certainly a lot, and it was that was the more frustrating thing is it wasn't at a hundy to be able to shoulder that burden, and the team was a little bit different back then. Wasn't as structured as it was after the World Cup when Graham Henry left and Steve Hansen took over with Aussie. It became quite a structured sort of game plan from then on, and you could sort of, as you can see and happened over the years, you could sort of plug out a couple of players, plug in a new one. It was sort of quite, the ship would run. But those sort of days, everything was tailored to the players who was expected to be starting. So, yes, I could kick left foot, but I had to always stand on the left-hand side because that's where DC was, for example. So, and that didn't change. So, I was still playing what was asked of DC, and that's because he was expected to be there and all the rest of it. So, and all of a sudden, like I said, it sort of fell on him while he was there and he was gone. It was kind of a little bit like everyone was like, looking at each other sort of thing.
Yeah. I remember Beaver saying the same thing in his one. Like he was asked to do all these kicks that DC used to do, but they weren't part of his game. They weren't his strength. So always felt like he was trying to be DC when he clearly wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard, pretty big boots to follow, especially back then. DC was in his prime, and but yeah, it didn't work out anyway, and I ended up shitting the bed and getting injured. So that's what it is.
Did you have full confidence in Beaver? Did you know he was going to be able to?
Well, I didn't really
steer the ship home,
because when he came in, I had to leave, so I didn't see or anything of him while he was in.
What do you mean you have to leave? Well, as soon as you got injured, you were gone.
Yeah, next day flew home.
Oh, really?
Pretty brutal. I'd come back for the game the following week.
Yeah,
but I mean, it was only because I got injured in the quarterfinal, so I missed the semi-final prep and the final prep.
True.
Just come back for the game.
So was that just the tournament rules, or just?
Yeah, but
so did DC had to leave as well?
Well, he was living in Auckland, so he sort of got that. He sort of got that.
Oh yeah.
Pull strength for big dogs. Millsy was the same. He got injured the same game as me, but he was in Auckland, so he sort of hung around. But
so you flew down to Christchurch. You didn't even see the back end of the World Cup other than the game.
No.
Oh,
I mean, and then I had surgery and went home and got an infection, ended up in hospital. Yeah, long story. But yeah, I won't go down that road. But one of those other surgeries that I had to do. But yeah.
So you had to have surgery on your groin post that injury. Oh yeah.
I got an infection in the surgery, and even the week of the final, mate, I was in hospital bed all week.
Were you?
On the drip.
How?
Yeah. Had to get an exemption from the match day doctor from the final to fly me up. He was going to look after me. Had to get the injections half time.
Far out.
Had the drip in my arm when I was up on the stage. And
shit.
But yeah.
So no post-match celebrations for you?
Well, they let me, but to be honest, mate, I was wrecked. So I just went to bed.
Go on, burger. You went and hit up the gym in the morning with the Franks boys.
Jeez, far out. I think they learned from that one when we won 15. I don't think they did. I think they afforded themselves a day off. Special.
Yeah. So then let's go straight to that 2015 one. Like the build up, obviously a bit different, but how was that for you?
That one was an enjoyable World Cup, right? We weren't in the spotlight if we were here. We could go out, we could do stuff, in New Zealand you're sort of stuck to your hotel, and literally that was all we did.
Except CJ and
you went undercover, or not so undercover, it turns out. But 15 was a great time. I knew going into the World Cup that was my last stint as an All Black, so I knew I was going to enjoy it.
Oh, so you'd already signed with Poe at this stage?
Yeah, I sort of announced that.
Did you know that? Was that ever going to affect your chances of making the World Cup, or did that ever come into your process?
It certainly does, right? Like you want to play the World Cup, but if does, they still pick me. So
you didn't have discussions with them whether it would.
Yeah. I mean, they tried pretty hard for me to stay. I was back at the Crusaders by that stage, and we were going all right. We didn't go right that year, but I was playing all right. So and DC was leaving, so Steve obviously wants to keep as many players as he wanted to, but. I'd set my mind on playing overseas early rather than later. I think, you sort of get caught in this spiral of messages, I guess, that to stay in New Zealand, bleed loyal, and that's fine. Some guys want to do it, but it's a big world out there, and we didn't have kids. I was 27, 28, going overseas and experiencing that. And geez, I'm glad I did.
It's so cool, eh? Like the experiences you get over there, like you say, and even in France. I never played in France, one of the places I didn't play, but watching it, just what they get in, like how they support their teams and getting behind their competitions, pretty impressive, eh?
Some of my best memories, rugby memories, are in France.
Yeah.
And that's not to discredit New Zealand, but those crowds over there are just so passionate. So even when you play away, it's a great environment to be in. It's just pretty daunting, but so passionate after the games, everything like that. Just it's an amazing place. But even outside of rugby, just being able to travel, do all that sort of stuff. I think we all sort of get caught up in our rugby careers during that time, and that's fine. But this is just a small part of our lives, and being able to go overseas and do all that sort of stuff, they're memories that I'll never forget.
And back to that 2015 World Cup. So were you expecting to make that squad, or were you sort of on the fringe again?
Well, I'd played 2014, played with the All Blacks, and gone all right in the India tour. So I had a good idea. Got a feeling anyway, but I suppose it was confirmed when Cruden, Aaron broke his knee,
that's right.
I believe, in ACL maybe earlier in the season. So that sort of helped my chances, or cemented my chances, I guess. But I mean, even then, I think I kind of knew you had DZ, Bodie, I was going to be number 3, and mentally I accepted that. I was going to be ready, but like, I wasn't going to let that affect me. And obviously, not having enjoyed 2011, I knew I was going to go in there, and in terms of the whole frustration of the whole thing and everything. But going into 15, I knew I was going to enjoy it. It's my last crack. I just love it, and I did, even though I wasn't playing. That was a great way to finish my All Black career.
Yeah, and was it the lead up to that tournament where I remember you kicking a real clutch goal against the Wallabies. I can't remember exactly where it fits on the time frame, but
yes, that was 2014. That was the year before, but yeah.
Yeah. What do you remember about that moment? Obviously, teams on you kicking the goal, whether we win or not, lose the game, and you know what New Zealand's like with All Black games, a lot of pressure on your shoulders to kick a winning goal like that.
I might have been going to France a year earlier if I'd missed that one. Hey? Probably wouldn't have come back either. I mean, it was obviously a highlight of my career. Yeah. You know, plenty of team highlights, but an individual one, that one was too. So I think, you know, the amount of times I've done that in the backyard as a 9-year-old, I was definitely ready for it. It's stuff dreams are made of, I guess, and get the opportunity, and then be able to do it was pretty awesome.
Are you confident lining up kicks like that? And we always, like, throughout your career, you always had a fair few clutch kicks. Were you always confident lining up, back yourself in these situations?
I mean, not always, and I think that's something you develop, and that would be, you know, advice that I sort of pass on now is, you know, we tend to think of the negative if we miss, right? But it is like a hell of a good challenge to get an opportunity like that, and I've sort of shaped it quite a lot over the years and changed my mentality around that sort of stuff, that it is, you know, if you just do normal things, you're only going to get normal results. When you get those extraordinary opportunities is when you get the rewards and things like that, and the satisfaction. And so even now, like, you know, if we're playing a game, I did lawn bowls the other day with my first work function, and you know, you want to go last, you want that pressure bowl. It's just they're the sort of things.
Did you come up clutch?
Yeah, always, mate. No, I went the wrong way. That's not something I've backed my skill at. You know, like cricking, I've done 10,000. I feel like I've done my 10,000 hours. You know,
yeah.
Lawn bowl, no.
And you spoke about the lack of game time at that World Cup. I think one game against Namibia where you got the crack, but yeah, I did. I actually did my hammy in that game too. So it's sort of And you weren't sent home though.
I told the physio, no, it's
not
too
bad.
It's going to be good. But I knew 13, I probably was going to have a couple of weeks to get right if needed. And I didn't want to be the guy that get kicked out of 2 World Cups. So it was, it wasn't a bad one. I could still jog. I just couldn't sprint. But wasn't needed. So nothing important.
And what were you like watching the final?
I was pretty pumped.
Yeah.
So I remember it very well because we had our bonus. I know that's a hot topic at the moment, but obviously we put so much effort into this, and we had so many guys retiring, and obviously myself, to a lesser degree, leaving that environment.
Did anyone carry you on their shoulders? I don't remember you.
Yeah. It just happened in the changing room. It was just one other bloke. But no. I mean, they had their moment. They deserved it. But it was massive. I had Willie Epiata next to me, and Wyatt Crockett and Al Rogers he was our IT guy. No, Joe Locke, the media guy. Anyway, and we were overhyping it. We were probably the most charismatic blokes in the stands, but it was awesome. It was just an unbelievable experience, that one. Yeah,
if you were on the field, would you have scored that try? What do you reckon? Have you ever thought about that? Obviously, Bender fits the kick through. You're fresh. Everyone's tired.
Hell yeah, if I was fresh. Yeah,
Hammy's probably still a little bit tight though.
Yeah.
Would you have got there?
I'd like to think I maybe would have, but hypothetical.
Oh, mate, what a journey. What a journey that would have been. What a way to finish. And kicked it off your bad foot. That's easy for you though, right?
But it was equally as good. Like it's like I said, we had so many legends going out. It was a good way to finish.
And you moved to France, so you did go a bit earlier. What was your reason? You did want to play in these bigger games over there, but obviously financially, rumours have circled around the size of that pay package, and my word, it would have been pretty hard to turn down. Is that the big reason, or?
The exchange rate went quite good after I signed too.
He's the financial advisor, and
you're always making those thoughts. Initially, obviously, you're looking to secure some bank balance, right? But like I mentioned, it was a good life experience to go overseas and live somewhere else. It was something I always wanted to do. So yeah, money stacks up, but do you want to give up on your dream? You have to weigh that up. I was in a bit of a battle, so I'd done it for sort of 5 or 6 years, but so I felt like I'd tick that box, played at 2 World Cups. Money, yep, let's shore that up, but also let's go and travel and do some stuff and kids. And it was actually a chat with I called both Arlie Williams and Corey Flynn, who were both over in overseas at the time, and they both loved it. The comment that stuck with me was, if I knew it was this good, I would have come earlier. And I figured at 27 I could have gone. It was dog shit. I'd come back. Yeah, I could do. Plenty of guys do, but yeah, nothing would be worse than going over at 32 thinking this is awesome. I should have come earlier, and I'm glad I did, because we went over there, no kids, for a couple of years and just travelled. There's pretty much not a country we didn't go to. And yeah, then kids came along and we couldn't do anything with that. So I thought, bugger it, we're out of here. Let's go to Japan.
Where was your favourite spot to travel?
All different for different things. You obviously got the Greek islands and that sort of stuff. Croatia, they were amazing for that sort of lifestyle. But then you've got the history. Like, I'm out of the random stuff I've done. I've got a history degree, and I've studied all that that sort of stuff. And even obviously even in London and stuff like that, that sort of stuff's pretty cool. But then you go anywhere, Barcelona. That's just amazing. There's so much history over there. Italy, obviously. Rome was the first place I went to, and that was just mind-blowing stuff over there to be able to go over and see it in the flesh. Yeah, so cool, eh? And you obviously had heaps of Kiwis at Poe as well. Conrad Smith, Ben Smith came, Whopper, all these guys have been on. So what was it like playing with them? It was awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to play against and with these guys in a New Zealand environment. You go overseas and you become way tighter because of the smaller group of years, right? So it's the family's got pretty tight. We had a great time over there. Geez, we went up and down with the rugby. We had some good times, but the off the field stuff, the memories that we created were pretty special. Again, it definitely helps. We had a massive Kiwi contingent, and as soon as one of them left, we had another one come in. And, Kiwi coaching staff. It was great part of the world, mate. Great part of the world. And how did you find the style of footy over there compared to here? Yep. So it's it was challenging, right? You're not playing with All Blacks. You're playing with French guys who are good in their own right, and certainly the best form international team at the moment. But it was more the mentality of the play, and you've got to adjust your game style to that. They don't win because of skill. They win because of passion and heart and all that sort of stuff. They're just incredible rugby players when they apply themselves. So you sort of have to manage a game plan to how they're feeling, right? If they're on, let them go. If they're not, then you're going to have to kick it and manage it that way. And obviously, we're all about detail here in New Zealand. They're not about detail. They're, again, about passion, sort of filling in the blanks with a bit of passion, which is something that I've learned now as a coach, is that you can get caught up on detail a lot. Sometimes too much detail creates a bit of hesitancy, right? And you sort of like second guess yourself, whereas, roll the sleeves up, get into it. If you want to tackle that guy, you'll tackle him, as opposed to potentially, getting your foot in the right spot, ready, all that sort of stuff. So that's stuff that I've learnt now, and can appreciate that from an hour coaching perspective. But again, plenty of learnings on how to operate, and you had to adapt to the French style. Yeah, that's interesting hearing you're managing the emotions of the team, so like picking up when they're good to go, when they're not, just through emotions. So different to what it's like here. Yep. And I mean, even when you're at home or away, you do play differently. Yeah. Because that pulls on the emotions more than anything. Yeah. Is that why they lose so, always win their home games and lose their away games? Is that basically typically it? I mean, they've gotten better. Yeah. We got a bit better. We had some Kiwi guys sort of involved. So that mentality we tried to sort of get rid of. But for the most part, the fans do play a big part on whether it's swinging the players or the ref. They have this thing where the home crowd just continually whistles at the big screen, and obviously the big screen's kind of controlled by like a hometown bloody TV man, so it's any foul play comes up, it's just on repeat. The whistling starts, the ref has to make a call, you get one in the bin. That's pretty much how it happens. So but it's still part of the theatre of French rugby, right? That's what it is. Oh, so cool. So then why did you go to Japan? What was the reason behind the move to Japan? Just age. Too many games, long seasons. There are long seasons up there, and it's not necessarily just the games you play, it's the repetitiveness, is it?
Repetitiveness, is it?
Yeah, we'll go repetitivity. repetitiveness of the training, the environment. You're basically together as a squad for 46 weeks, 45 weeks, whatever it is. You get 5 weeks off, do it all over again. So it's not like in New Zealand you do your ITM Cup, you go to your Super Rugby or your All Blacks, whatever, you mix up the environment. But just needed a change. Too many head knocks. Play some easier rugby, and had the family a little bit closer to home. So we started to accumulate kids while we're overseas, you see. So all of a sudden being a little bit home for longer and closer to grandparents became a bit more of a priority.
How many kids have you got?
So I got three girls.
True, three girls. Oh, there you go.
Go to girl dads. 5, 3 and 1. So they're a good handful at the moment.
All go.
Yeah. So that's why I had to get back to the workforce, mate. I had to get to the office, get out. Look, I'm out 9 to 5. Oh, I can't help. Sorry.
My wife sit at the desk.
Yeah, my wife won't watch.
So why'd you choose the Dino Boars? Big Doug pick and pull, was it?
Yeah. No, it was just, quite honestly, they had a spot. They needed a 10, and they had a Kiwi coach there who I'd had a previous relationship with. He was my New Zealand 21 coach, so Greg Cooper. So he had that sort of connection and got me over there. But you don't really turn down a gig over there. Yeah, anyway, that's got a gig open. You sort of just take it. Depending on the time, you've got the rules around cap players. You can only have a certain amount of international players in a squad. So if they've got a spot for an international 10, you kind of jump at it. It was a perfect thing for me. It's worked out really well. Great part of the world to live in. We dealt with COVID, so we didn't get the full package. But
true. Was that COVID both years you were there?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they're still dealing with it now to a certain extent. It's a little bit better, but not so much the outbreak. It's just more or government restrictions. It's just team restrictions. Don't get COVID, pretty much. And they listen over there. It's a weird culture where they actually listen to the government.
Listen to everything, eh? No one will walk across
and
the road without a green walking man, ever.
Everything like that. It's it's funny now. You sort of see like Kiwis, it's sort of rebellious, I guess, but we certainly express our disappointment and things, but they just shut up and comply, and it's interesting. Yeah,
did you feel that on the field as well with the players and like the rugby culture as well? Very yes, coach, I'll do that, coach.
Yeah, exactly. That's and they look to be told. They don't assume. So you had to deal with that too. But again, it was my job there as an experienced 10 going over there and helping out a young team, we were a Div 2 team coming up to Div 1. And again, just another awesome opportunity to get a life experience and go and play in a different culture and live there.
And you summed up the French, style with emotions and juggling their emotions. How would you sum up the Japanese style? What do you have to weigh up there?
Well, it's probably the inverse. Like they would tend to go in their shell a wee bit if they made mistakes and wouldn't get it like emotion. They get shy and just a different set. Like I said, they sort of look to you to tell them what to do, and if it doesn't go wrong, it's not. I mean, they don't actually blame you at all, but it's just it is what it is, and I found that a different challenge, but it was quite nice, sort of just being their teacher and helping them as much as I can.
No doubt they're in a better place with their experience with you.
Well, you have to ask them that, but we'll see how they go this year, I guess. But I didn't play a lot last year. I sort of had a few injuries last year, so that's why it sort of culminated in me retiring.
Any major injuries, those ones? Or was that head again?
Yeah, so I sort of got chucked on my head, bit of a spear tackle, and felt a bit of a crack in my neck, so I tried to sort of retire a little bit earlier, but got tempted to come back and play, and then went and snapped my bicep 10 minutes back into my comeback game, and that was the end of my career. So you got one more surgery for the road.
You got an extra 2 year and a half paid if you had have ended your career that first time you.
That was in my last year. So yeah.
Oh, so you just saw out the rest of your contract.
Yeah, sort of had about 3 months to sort of navigate, I guess, and then came back and got injured again, and fun way to retire.
And no more injuries since.
Touch wood, but
you'll be playing touch tonight too, won't you? So how are you going on the touch field?
I'm not playing tonight.
Are you not?
I did the Queenstown Marathon on the weekend. You see, and my toenails are black, so I can't put my boots on.
So what inspired you to do a marathon?
Good question. I'm questioning that now myself.
Yeah.
No, I thought, it's kind of one of those bucket list things you want to do at some stage, and I thought, well, I'm only just retired. I'm only still semi-athletic enough to be able to cope what I thought I'd be able to cope. And she fell to pieces at the end, and but yeah, it's a big commitment doing it,
Yeah.
training and all that sort of stuff. But I thought, why not do it? And
How much training did you put in before it?
yeah, quite a bit. Yeah. So I did quite a bit, and I thought I got myself the best shot, but I got caught up on the hills a wee bit, and yeah.
What do you mean caught up on the hills? What does that mean?
Well, no, just sort of ran out of path. You know, if you don't train hills, it was quite hilly. I'd been running around Heckley Park, which you would have found out, mate. It's a pretty flat running track. But get hit on those hills, and it sort of beat me up a wee bit. Didn't have enough gas in the tank, but.
So what happened? Did you
just hit the wall, mate? The people will tell you about this marathon wall, and just you hit the wall and just run out of fuel. Your legs cramp up, and you just it's sort of a walk jog for the last sort of 3K.
Oh, true.
It was a bit frustrating because I had a good sort of front 3/4.
Yeah,
but,
you were on track for a PB.
Yeah, my first ever marathon. Yeah. Would have been. I was quite happy with my time. Yeah, until the last sort of 20 minutes or whatever. It just sort of ruined it. But
how much of a mental battle was it? Must have been next level.
Yeah, I prepared for the mental stuff because
David Goggins.
Yeah. That guy, he annoys me.
He would not be happy with you complaining about your toenails.
He starts his video about 2 minutes before 2 minutes after his run. But the body shuts down. It shuts down.
Yeah.
And the mind was willing because I just wanted to get to the end of it. But I felt like a baby giraffe taking its first steps. Trying to take a drink, and the old legs were. Yeah.
Any more? Or nah, done. You might go again.
Yeah, I think I will.
On a flat track.
Yeah. So the Christchurch one's in April, so I might give it a crack. Yeah.
Is that around Hagley Park?
Yeah. Pretty. It is. I got the local legend on Strava for the most amount of runs around Hagley Park.
Oh, have you? Oh, wow.
So I've got to defend my territory, right? Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. So, mate, obviously, what a career. But how do you look back on your career when you reflect on it?
Yeah, I think it is interesting coming back to New Zealand now, and it's amazing how much world moves on, and you certainly don't get the recognition and stuff that you did had when you were here. But I mean, I've kind of been away for 7 years, so it kind of felt like I've retired from New Zealand rugby for 7 years.
Mate, you're old news quick, in rugby.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like, obviously you, like a Crusaders legend, All Black, and mate, people don't even know you.
Yep, that's exactly right. But I mean, it is quite refreshing. I got used to that overseas. You travel around Europe and you go sit in a cafe by yourself and not feel like a complete loser. Like it is just life. And I've become accustomed to that and realised, why I was silly about it before I left, that you wouldn't do that. But I'm back to doing that again now and on the laptop and doing stuff. So it is quite nice to sort of come back. But you sort of crack on with life, and it does feel like a long time ago though that I was playing. So like it sort of feels like, whether that's a head knocks or not, but it feels like a lifetime ago.
You're real unsure on your head knocks, eh?
I'm pretty confident, mate. You're the one bringing it up.
Oh, I'm unsure. Hey, but anyway, we've gone to the Instagram for some questions, and
Can we ignore everything from Mike Coleman?
Okay, Moo's ones are deleted, but we will ask this one. I'm not sure who this one came from. Ask him what happened when he threw his strapping tape at Franksy and it landed in his protein shake.
I mean, that's what happened. And that's one of my flatmates. But it caused me and Franksy had a bit of biffo, and he wasn't as big as he was now. But not that he was still way bigger than me, so I don't know why I said that. But we were sitting on the couch and there was a bin in the corner. Tried to throw strapping tape in the bin, landed in his, like, the most bounced off 3 walls and landed in his protein.
The worst
blender.
face.
Oh. And it was just like, I know what I'm in for here. Don't know if I can swear on your ear.
You're more than welcome to.
He's like, brings it over to me, fucking take it out. It was an accident. I didn't even know it was in there. Anyway, good bonding.
Did you scrap him?
No.
Nah.
Nah.
Did he get you up
I'm
against
not
the
that
wall?
Stupid. I'm not that stupid. Nah, not really. I can't really remember what happened. Don't say it.
Nah, I'm ignoring that one. I know. It was a long time ago.
That was nearly 20 years, 18 years ago. So,
quick maths. Okay, next one. How accurate did you think the actor who played you in The Kick was? I can't remember it. I honestly can't.
I do, because it was. Yeah. I don't remember it specifically, but I remember being very scrawny and so probably pretty accurate, I'd say. He was a good-looking bloke, though, wasn't he? Surely
Was he?
No, don't know.
Did he ever like touch base with you around like characteristics or anything?
I don't even think he spoke. To be fair,
Oh,
he ended
yeah.
up being quite a minor
In and
role.
out.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened, wasn't it? Yeah,
Mate, they downsold your like surgery and having to get your injections at half time and all that. They could have
that's
had a
not
little.
part of, that doesn't make a good story though, does it? More of a sob story. Jeepers creepers.
Okay, next one. Any tips for coping mentally with high profile injuries?
Yep. Just get stuck in the process rather than worry about the outcome and all the consequences. Does that make sense? So it's not so much worry about, I'm missing opportunity and all that sort of stuff. It is trying to create and structure a positive mindset to the whole thing. That this is a good opportunity to work on my left foot or come back stronger or get faster. And this isn't just my mentality. I've seen other players do it. Some of them train really hard. Some of them getting a bit beat up, a bit bloody depressed about it. But you've got two options. You can either give up or you can get back on the horse. And if you don't want to give up, then that gives you the answer, doesn't it? You want to get back on the horse, so why not do it properly?
Mate, like that. Good one. Okay, next one. Who sent it the longest post-Rugby World Cups? Probably yourself.
No, don't be silly. Although we did have a good nudge. I wouldn't know, mate. Even I've sort of missed out. I went back. So that wasn't, went back to Christchurch pretty much the next day. 15. We all gave it a good nudge. Don't really have an answer for it. I mean, you can imagine.
Yeah. Everyone's
probably Corey Jane.
Good safe answer. Okay, next one. Who's the best player you ever played with? You would have played with a few, actually.
Yeah.
All the greats.
Yeah. I mean, you'll say Richie. And like, it wasn't an inability thing. He had the ability, but it was more his commitment to it and the consistency and his, around everything. Didn't have off days, didn't have, he didn't really do that. I mean, that's a guy that stands out. I played with plenty of good players. But yeah, he definitely stands out.
Well, next time you see him at the trampoline park, let him know that you voted him as the greatest ever.
Yeah, that's special.
Okay, last question. Always ask this one, always finish with this one. Best piece of advice you have for a Woodlad listener? You've given a fair bit already with injuries and how to manage your life and finances. But
come and see Forsyth Bar. That's a good advice.
Are you taking on clients?
Not yet.
Not yet.
So it's a compliance process that I'm going through now. So I've got to do all that. But
you let me know, and mate, the Waterlad listeners will be flying in to get some financial advice from you after this. But anyway, let's get to your advice.
I suppose with rugby related, I'm assuming. I suppose it's any. I mean, two things that I always sort of say: you get in what you put out.
Yeah.
The minute you're doing stuff to just tick boxes, you won't get better. Really let that one sort of sink in. I guess that you'll the harder you work, the more you get. Pretty simple. And the other one is collect the 1%ers and make habits. It is very hard to create good habits. You need to commit to them. Very easy to accumulate bad habits. You've got to actually really make a conscious effort to collect the 1%ers and make good habits and then remove the bad habits. And I mean, they build up pretty quickly, and all of a sudden you don't have to consciously think about them. They become part of you. You get better. Everyone wins.
I love that. I've just read Atomic Habits. I'm not sure if that's where you got your advice from, but that is world class.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's something that, I do to this day, even though I'm not a footy player anymore. As it is to say that, it is some cunt, but
you might be. Richie goes down early. Who knows?
Don't wish that on anybody.
Stay ready.
I'll always be ready. I'm training for a marathon, mate, so I'll be ready.
Oh, mate. Well, anyway, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. What a career, what a journey. You're a legend of the game, and you're a legend of Christchurch. So it's been awesome having you on the podcast and going through your story.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. Thank you.
You're a lad.